I'm about to go to India in a week. I'm like, let me just chill. I'm like, I'm good. But then Hari Bhakta, he kind of put like a gun to my head, and he said, no, you have to speak. So, forced here, and I was like, okay, what can I talk about? I was kind of like struggling to come up with the talk, and I was thinking, let me just give a talk on struggle. So I thought, okay, let me speak about that a little bit today. This word struggle, it comes from the German straucheln, and straucheln means to wrestle. So I think that when we go through struggles, there's different things that we wrestle with. We sometimes wrestle with our mind. Sometimes we wrestle with situations and different circumstances. And sometimes it's other living beings, other living entities. Whether they're humans, whether they're ants or giants, they're always going through some type of struggle. I know recently a couple of people that I know, I won't say any names, but they got something called bed bugs. You guys heard of bed bugs before? Yeah. And they're like these super little tiny small creatures, and it's just amazing how much pain a little tiny creature can cause a human. So this is the nature of this material world. There's always some type of struggle, some type of hurdle. But I think if we learn to see struggle in the proper perspective when it's happening, then we can actually elevate ourselves to a higher consciousness, and you won't feel such a struggle when it's happening. Just like I think when I think of struggle, I like to give the example of the butterfly that previously is a caterpillar, and the caterpillar is in the little cocoon thing, and it's trying like anything to break out. And let's say you were walking by and you saw that caterpillar trying to come out, and you wanted to help it. You had some compassion for it. So what do you think happens when you try to open that cocoon and try to let that butterfly out? Do you think you're helping the butterfly, or do you think you're hurting the butterfly? Does anybody know?
Hurting.
Hurting? Why is it hurting?
Because you don't let him go through its struggle to get to the next level of it evolving.
I can't even see who's speaking. It's like this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, basically the caterpillar has to go through that struggle of breaking the cocoon. That's how it builds its wings to then eventually fly. If you were to help it out, it would still look like a butterfly, but it can't actually fly. So struggle is a good thing because it strengthens us. And I think that's the proper perspective to see it. Just like a rose has many thorns, it has many sharp edges, but ultimately the purpose of the rose is something much higher. Similarly, the rose of life shows many thorns, but ultimately it shows beauty. And if you had to start your life all over again, it's better to start at the bottom and work your way back up to the top, rather than starting at the top and just remaining there. We're actually meant to go through an adventure in life. We're meant to venture within, and in this way we become very strong. This energy that we're in right now, this material world, it's composed of two different energies also. There's the spiritual energy, and then there's also the material energy. And another name for the material energy is also called the illusory energy. So if you tap into the illusory energy, eventually you'll lose, because it's very temporary, it's very moment to moment. But the spiritual energy actually helps sustain us to attain a higher consciousness. And sometimes you can feel a little bit static, you can feel like you're not going anywhere, but a static person simply needs ecstatic persons. So you just gotta find that right association and it can really lift the consciousness to another level and help with the struggles. I think something that really helps understand just the purpose to life. This world, it's not built for our enjoyment. It's actually built for our enlightenment. So having that proper context really changes the way that you'll start to see reality. You can raise your consciousness in this way. The material substances in this world, they'll always divert us towards the reflection, but the spiritual life will always lead us towards the substance, the actual essence, to reality. So it's important to just tap into this as much as possible. And if we can do this, then we can gradually transcend our consciousness to a higher level. So right away, all the yoga meditation texts, they talk about how this world is just like an ocean. And in an ocean, you're always getting waves. There's waves of happiness, there's waves of distress. This planet brings rain, and it also brings rainbows. And so just to, actually, there's like all these Instagram posts recently of these rainbows, because it just rained recently. And it's just the nature, it's the nature of duality. And so how to go through the struggle in a proper context really just helps us in furthering our development. And I think the one struggle that a lot of people are going through currently is probably the cell phone. Because I feel that what's really important in life is to focus on habits. Because habits is what shapes a person. Even if you look at the word habit, it contains the word bit. And so bit by bit, eventually you have the habit. The things that we do constantly is who we actually become. And they've been doing all this research recently, from Harvard University to the University of Virginia, been looking into this, how technology really steals away a person's imagination. I remember growing up, my career goal, even as a young child, I wanted to be a music video director, because I remember listening to music and just closing my eyes and seeing this entire movie in my head. And then as I was growing older, I've lived about 6 years now in a monastery. And when I first started, the first year or two, we would listen to a lot of spiritual music. And the same occurrence was happening. I would listen to these sounds, I close my eyes, and I get transported to another place. But then we started doing these college preaching programs. We started setting up clubs at USC, UCLA, a lot of different places. So I was kind of asked to get on social media and start connecting with people. And I can see that all this imagination, it was starting to fade a little bit. And I realized it's because there's so much content that we're constantly seeing, so many images that we're constantly seeing, that it actually hinders our imagination. It takes away from our imagination. So just realizing that and tapping back into what's real, I think, is what's really important. We refresh our phones today more than we actually refresh ourselves. And we rely so much on Google and these search engines that we weaken our own engines. And in a world where everyone is trying to go viral, it's actually the mystery that attracts. So it's important to just hone in on this as much as possible and take back what is ours, which is that rightful claim of spirituality and having this high sense of tapping into a higher consciousness, because these things can easily lower us. We watch television programs failing to realize they're programming us. We listen to radio stations failing to realize they're stationing us in a particular way of thinking. Although our social media can go peaking, our consciousness can go sinking, whether on the I'll take a little bit of that. Whether on the internet or World Wide Web, I'll say it again, whether on the internet or World Wide Web do we get caught and dangle our attention on the edge. At every moment, protect your mind from useless absorption and stay focused on your goals and crafts. Draft the essence to your life's photographs. See, life's a movie, so keep it all groovy. And don't allow the mundane, but break every material chain. Free yourself to a higher spiritual plane. Like airplanes, don't land before needed. Keep flying until you can see it. And don't see that which does not serve your purpose. Ultimately, your purpose should be connected with the higher service. Like airplanes, can't be afraid of your height. The clouds may come, but they'll vanish with the height. We all need co-pilots, so find those that find goals similar to yours. And in this way, you can escape life's lower allures. They'll always be calling. You'll always be falling. But get up like a child until walking is the option. See, we're meant to do great things in this world, but know that greatness comes from gratefulness for your inner pearls. The attitude of gratitude can unlock life's treasures, lessen the pressures, and reach peace beyond measures. So start today, because tomorrow is waiting. Without the start, you won't stop complaining. And come simple, complain. If not, you'll complain. We don't need much, just enough to not go insane. So change the channel and find the right program and feel the love in your heart like an R&B slow jam. Cool. So I think I'll end there. I just want to maybe start a little discussion. Has anybody been through a struggle of their own that when looking back they can see, wow, this actually really benefited me? Yes, in the back.
Yeah, so man, I put you right there for real, because it's funny that you asked that, because basically in my life, it's as simple as this. Basically, I grew up playing sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got injured playing sports. So the thing is, what happened with me was, like when I started to have like issues, you know, when it comes to mental health, spiritual health, it was just basically, it was as simple as making sure I was healthy physically, like, cause I had got injured playing sports. I had an ankle issue, I had a back issue, and like I just had these issues. So looking back now, it was like, if I would have just got my physical health issues right, that was just like the foundation to make sure I was good mentally and spiritually. So man, I'm glad you asked that, because I really relate to that, for real. Definitely.
Nice to have you here.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Pay $7. It's worth it though.
Yeah, we're hustlers over here. Anybody else want to share maybe a type of struggle that they actually feel really happy that they went through? Yes, Brother Sean.
So, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'm debating with myself whether or not to take a hot or a cold shower. Because I've heard that taking cold showers is really good for your health. So when I turn on the cold water, then I'm struggling with my mind. It's like, no, don't go in there, you're gonna die. You know, it's like so hard to see. But once you get in there and you take that cold shower, you feel so rejuvenated and so good.
How many here take a cold shower? Just checking. It's pretty cold lately. Yeah. Actually, a cold shower to the body, it will add warmth to the mind. And so that's the power. In spiritual life, we have a lot of words from the meditation text. They're known as Sanskrit. One of the words is called tapasya. Tapasya means spiritual discipline. And the root to tapasya is tapa, and that means heat. So it's whatever fires us up from within. And it's interesting that when we do take a cold shower, we actually feel warm coming out. It's interesting how that works. And we have to chase our dreams, you can say. We have to chase our frozen dreams with fire each day. So it's through the fire of spiritual discipline that we can achieve our goals, our dreams, our wants, our needs. They're all there, and through that austerity, it's all possible. Anybody else want to share a little? Saw like a few more hands up.
Keep it rolling.
Yes, Shanti.
Yeah, I really relate to what you were sharing about kind of the information overload that we're receiving all day, and how that can kind of cut off our own sense of intuition for like what feels good in our hearts. And that's something that I'm creating a shift in my life right now, and kind of there's so much that we can do with our lives, and there's so many people that are like on their paths and living their purpose and sharing that with us, and that's really beautiful, and it can be inspiring to see. And also that's their path, and it's like really important for me to be able to tune into myself and listen to what my own path is, and that comes from a place of like gratitude too. I feel like when I'm like constantly scrolling or constantly like focused on what people around me are doing, it can create this sense of like not enoughness or like this lack or scarcity, like I need to be doing more and more and more, instead of just satisfied with like where I'm at.
Right. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and this community, like Kirtan, has really brought me back to that.
Right. Yeah, when you look at maybe Instagram, you see the ones who have the most followers. I think it's like Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, Beyonce. They got like 126 million followers, 120 million followers. That's a lot of people. But I don't know if you guys know, right now, inside your body, you have 75 to 100 trillion cells. That's an entire community that you are responsible for. And yeah, that's right. A lot of DMs. Basically, based on your mental thoughts, let's say you are in a bad mood. Let's say you are in a judgmental mood or whatever it may be. It actually affects every single one of those thoughts. And the more research that they're doing these days, they're finding that cancer, even back pain, arthritis, all these things, they're actually not so much produced from biological situations. It's more so coming from the thoughts. So our thoughts are everything. It's where it all starts. We have this understanding sometimes, which is an incorrect understanding. They say that you can't change your destiny, that you are given your destiny and it's all locked, and that's just how it's going to be. But your destiny is directly connected to your character, and it's because it's really hard to change your character. That's why they say you can't change your destiny. So let's say somebody has a character of being very ungrateful for all the things that they have. Then your destiny, no matter what you receive, you will be ungrateful. You will not be satisfied in life. So what's the chain? Destiny comes from character. Character comes from your habits. Habits come from your actions, and actions come from your thoughts. Ultimately, everything comes back to your thoughts. So it's very important to put focus on this. I know even for myself, I used to make music for years, and then I joined the monastery and became a monk. And after a certain time, I was just really craving to make beats again and to make sounds again. But it's kind of hard setting up a studio in a monastery ashram. You can't really do it. And then like a couple of months ago, my friend, he bought me this little piano, and you can just like make these little sounds on it. And that piano has really saved my life. Anytime I'm feeling a little negative, a little down, whatever it may be, I just go back to that piano, play some sounds, and again, my mind is feeling great. Anytime I go out and take a nature walk and maybe listen to some spiritual lectures on the headphones, I'm feeling great again. So it's just important, whatever you can do, however you can do it, put yourself in these situations, in these circumstances. Try to protect your thoughts as much as possible, because it really creates your destiny. So, yes. Thank you for sharing, Shanti, about that. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
I used to live in Santa Barbara, and I was on a negative path, and I never really truly like loved myself. I would kind of like would not confront myself about my own problems and kind of blame other people. It was only until I was forced to kind of like look at my own path. I ended up going to county jail, and then from there, my parents thought it was best for me to go into a mental hospital to get myself checked out. And during the mental hospital, I was going through withdrawals of like alcohol and like smoking weed and like all the drug habits that I had back in Santa Barbara, and not telling the doctors this. Like they put a lot of labels on me with the mental health issues, and so it was kind of hard to also like to kind of decide if they're right or if they're wrong about that with the whole labels. And you kind of, like you said, like it's your mindset of like thinking this is how you are, and like people tell you, kind of like control your faith, so you kind of see yourself that way once you're labeled that way, especially by someone who's like a higher authority in your mind.
Right.
And so it was only after like 4 years after that where I got through all the issues. I got clean, but I still wasn't happy with myself. I kind of like still avoided conversation. I still like blamed my parents, like I had to go through this ordeal because of them. And it was only like 2018 where I kind of like learned to kind of like, I basically shut myself off from the world and kind of peeled off all the labels that I can, all the expectations, kind of like learn to see myself for who I am and like want to be like my true self. And first of all, had to love that person, love myself, love and forgive myself, and forgive all the horrible things I've done in the past. And then from there, I spread that by forgiving those who hurt me and like not blaming them, not seeing fault in them for my own experience that I had to go through. It wasn't that they wanted me to suffer. It was that I saw as they wanted me to suffer. They were just doing what's best for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I think it's really important that we create a place where we can express ourselves naturally. It's actually the cure to depression. When you look at this word depression, it comes from the Latin deprimere. And deprimere means to press in, it means to push in. It's where you also get words like pressure. So what's the opposite of deprimere? It's exprimere, and that's where you get expression. It means to push out, it means to press out. So just by you expressing has a lot of healing effects, so thank you for sharing that. And you also reminded me of something that, you know, a lot of us here, we practice a certain type of yoga, a certain type of meditation. It's known as bhakti yoga. Have any of you guys heard of bhakti yoga by any chance? Show of hands. Okay, I can maybe explain it very quickly. It deals with something that you were saying regarding labels. So bhakti yoga, there's many different yoga paths in the meditation tradition, and I've really researched a lot, and bhakti yoga really resonated with me the most, because it's saying it's not so possible in this day and age to leave behind all your material attachments. We're in this world, we're in LA City. It's a little difficult. But what bhakti is to use everything that you have, but for a higher purpose. So if you have the car, if you have the phone, if you have whatever it may be, you can turn that into a spiritual instrument for higher consciousness. And they say that when you practice bhakti yoga, immediately there are two side effects that happen off the bat. first thing that happens is that you remove all your upadis. Upadis is a Sanskrit word that means labels and designations. So you, off the bat, don't associate anymore with I am white, I am black, I'm Indian, I'm Mexican, I'm from this country, I'm from that country, I belong to this religion, that religion. All these labels completely go to the wayside. And you identify yourself as a spiritual being, as a spiritual soul, as a tiny spark of the Supreme. And like that, then you can start to see the whole world as a type of union, as a type of connection. Not just humans, but even animals, all living species. So this is one powerful aspect to Bhakti Yoga. And then the second thing that Bhakti Yoga does is it purifies your senses. It makes you, it turns you into an instrument, pretty much. We're all instruments. We just need to clean our clog, you can say, so we can play sounds of harmony. And Bhakti Yoga does that. And no matter what you take in this world, Bhakti Yoga can transform it. So when Bhakti enters food, it becomes prasad. Like you guys are about to all eat, I think, enchiladas tonight. So that's enchiladas prasad. Prasad means blessings. It's a Sanskrit word. When Bhakti enters music, it becomes kirtan, which is soul-filled music, sounds that really stir the soul. When Bhakti enters your actions, then it becomes service. Everything that you're trying to do in this world, every act that you're trying to do is for the upliftment and betterment of this entire world. And when Bhakti enters a house, it becomes a mantra house. So this is the special, unique feature of this place. And when Bhakti enters you, then you become love personified. So that's the process that we've been kind of following as much as possible, this Bhakti Yoga system. And it's amazing of what it can do to a person's consciousness. Again, yes, thank you for sharing. I thank everybody for being here, to coming to this space. And who do we have on the lineup today?
We got Radhe Sham.
Radhe Sham. Okay. So, yes, thank you again very much. If you guys have any questions, comments, whatever it may be, I'll be around and would love to connect with you guys. Radhe Sham is a really good friend of mine, and his kirtans are very bhakti-filled, so we're about to see that in action. Thank you again one more time.